humanitarian situation just north of the border with South Sudan have become bogged down. Speaking to the BBC, Yasser Arman of the SPLM North accused the government side of attempting to open a political dialogue prematurely. Mr Arman said 1,000 people a day were crossing from Blue Nile and South Kordofan into South Sudan to escape hunger and disease. He said political negotiations at this stage were a diversion.
Khartoum, they want to put a political condition in opening the access and sending the humanitarian assistance to the areas controlled by the SPLM North. And this is against the international humanitarian law. The government is buying time. Khartoum used to buy time on the expense of the civil population.
An attack on an army patrol in southern Thailand has left 4 soldiers dead and 2 others wounded. A Thai military spokesman is reported as saying the attack in Pattani province was carried out by about 20 armed militants who opened fire on the patrol from several pickup trucks. The incident follows a bomb attack in nearby Yala province on Wednesday in which 5 policemen were killed. The Pakistani ambassador to the United States, Sherry Rayman, has called for an end to American drone attacks in Pakistan. She acknowledged the unmanned aircraft had succeeded in damaging al-Qaeda in the past, but said they were now only serving to recruit new militants. Drone attacks have been a source of tension between the two countries. BBC News.
You're listening to World Briefing from the BBC with Dee Sebastian. Coming up in the programme, questions are being asked as to why it wasn't known that the Colorado gunman was having psychiatric treatment and why the shine has gone off some of Africa's leaders. But we begin the programme in Syria and the northern city of Aleppo, where heavy gunfire has been heard. Rebels say they're under attack by government troops using artillery and helicopter gunships. Video footage, which can't be independently verified, has been posted online, purportedly showing the shelling of the district of Salahadin. MiG fighter jets are said to be flying at low altitude. The government says they're flushing out terrorists. The rebels, who hold at least 2 districts of the city, say they're fighting for a free Syria. Many countries have been talking about a possible bloodbath in Aleppo when the lightly armed rebels meet the full force of President Assad's army. Our correspondent Ian Pannell spoke to me a short while ago from inside Aleppo.
We came into the city last night, and if I can just describe the scene, we're hearing artillery bombardment, gunfights going off in a number of areas, helicopters flying over. We certainly haven't seen any jets, but that doesn't mean there aren't any. This is a very large city, home to about 2.5 to 3 million people. So yes, we are also hearing that there is a government offensive targeting Salahadin, which has been one of the most restive neighbourhoods, perhaps the key neighbourhood, has been under the hands or in the hands of the opposition Free Syrian Army for a number of days now. We had heard that government troops were massing outside the city. We believe, though, on this occasion perhaps they've come from an area that they already controlled inside of Aleppo. The rebels are saying, and we can't verify this, that they have destroyed a number of tanks. Certainly in the area I'm in, there's clear evidence that they've been able to do that. They have rocket-propelled grenades, and they know how to use them to target these vehicles. But the overwhelming truth is that they're vastly outgunned and outmanned. We've also seen civilians leaving from Salahadin and other areas. A fairly regular trickle, I would describe it, rather than a stream of vehicles, trucks, cars packed with civilians, families, children, a few belongings, but not much. These people don't appear to have had much time to pack, even though everybody has been anticipating this offensive, and they're trying to head out into the countryside and to safety.
Ian, can you paint a picture for me of exactly what it looks like around where you are?
It's very, very quiet. I mean, we were inside the city in this area 3 days ago, and we pulled back for a number of reasons, but we came back in last night. The whole atmosphere has changed. It's almost the atmosphere that you feel more than anything else. It is eerily quiet. There are very, very few residents around, and the mood amongst the rebels themselves is very tense. When we arrived last night, the commander of one of the largest brigades operating Aleppo was even deliberating pulling his men out because he wasn't getting getting enough ammunition. It's coming in dribs and drabs. It's Kalashnikov rifles, it's bullets for those rifles, rocket-propelled grenades, but there's nothing larger, and also the quantities in which they're getting them, certainly he felt were not sufficient. Now he was urged by his men not to leave, and they are still here, and they've been fighting this morning. We've seen wounded fighters being brought back to this area, some of them with bad wounds to the stomach, to the leg, elsewhere, where they're being treated in a makeshift clinic around the back. But it is incredibly tense. There is a real sense of anticipation here.
And that report from Ian Pannell inside Aleppo. There's been a largely positive media reaction to last night's colourful opening ceremony for the London Olympics. Many have praised director Danny Boyle's sometimes quirky interpretation of British life and culture. It featured a scene from the Industrial Revolution, a long sequence from a children's hospital, and lots of music and dancing. One of the highlights was Mr. Bean playing with the London Symphony Orchestra, and a meeting between the Queen and James Bond. Queen Elizabeth was also filmed, apparently parachuting into the stadium before she officially declared the games open. This was some people's reaction after the ceremony.
Lovely, remarkable, I cry a lot, and it was just the way I was expecting.
I think they've done a really good job. I know they've been preparing for it. I'm actually half British and half American, so I know they've been really preparing for it for a long time, and I think they did a great job.
Oh, superb. Really enjoyed it. Top of the world. Top of the world. Well worth it. Once in a lifetime.
Well, Queen Elizabeth has now just arrived in the Olympic Park this morning, where she's visiting the Athletes' Village and some of the venues. The sport's in full swing now, with 12 medals to be decided today, with tough competition expected in cycling, fencing, basketball and swimming. And speaking of swimming, Michael Phelps will face his American teammate Ryan Lochte in what's being described as the American duel. Phelps, who won a record 8 gold medals in Beijing, has vowed to retire after the London Games. But his place as the most successful US swimmer at the Games could be taken by his rival. Here's our sports news reporter, Alex Capstick.
25 metres to go. It's Lochte against Phelps. This is a fantastic swim by Lochte if he can hold on. Phelps is coming back to him. It's going to be Lochte's goal for the USA. Second is Michael Phelps.
The Olympics is often defined by compelling rivalries. Phelps versus Lochte is one of those. Their showdown in the 400 metres medley on Saturday night is the most eagerly awaited contest on the first full day of competition. It's one of the 8 Olympic gold medals won by Michael Phelps in Beijing. But following his record haul 4 years ago, he temporarily lost his motivation to swim. He was photographed appearing to smoke drugs. At that time, he wasn't sure he would compete again.
I was just super lazy and didn't always really want to do anything. I kind of just wanted to figure out what I was doing and see where I was headed and test things out.
While Michael Phelps pondered his future, Ryan Lochte was plotting to move out of his slipstream. He did just that with victory at this year's US trials just 3 weeks ago. The two swimmers are enemies in the pool, but on dry land they and their families are friends. Ryan Lochte's mum, Ileana, leaves it for others to stoke up the rivalry.
I think that's more for everybody else. They see Ryan moving up and they see Michael going to step out, so they make this competition, but they're friends, and in the water they're not.
Michael Phelps said he's more relaxed and having fun in what he promised would be his last Olympics. He'll defend 7 of the titles he won in Beijing. He was asked which one he most wants to retain. The reply from the man who was supposed to have lost his aura of invincibility was all of them.
Alex Capstick, and some news just in within the past half hour. In the swimming preliminaries, Michael Phelps has just qualified for the 400-metre final tonight, but only just. He finished 8th fastest, taking the final spot. A group of British cyclists have complained about what they're calling heavy-handed overreaction by the police last night close to the Olympic site. One member of the group, which raises awareness about cycling